He's ready to praise you when you deserve to be praised.
Sure, but his past student like died because of him.
Yeah, well, he didn't want it enough.
Wow.
Gonna cry?
Fucking hell.
Welcome to the Shade Cinema Podcast. I'm Chris, and these are my lovely guests. This is Panos, and this is Aren. Or Panos and Aren. So today we are doing a...
Yo, that's hot.
Today we are doing a film analysis on Whiplash, which is a great movie. It's about this guy who goes to this music school. It's called Schaefer, and he basically his whole goal is to become like the greatest drummer he can possibly be. But he's a part of this jazz band with this conductor, who basically is sort of like a drill sergeant in everything. He expects absolute perfection from everyone. And but first I want to talk about Andrew, who's the main character, and then we're going to dive into more Fletcher and what he does and all that. So my first question is, why do you think Andrew is so awkward around people in general? Because one of the big quotes that I saw was Nicole, who's like the girl he dated afterwards, she said that like every time I saw you, like your eyes were glued to the floor. It's like, what do you think made Andrew such an awkward person?
He was a musician. Every musician is awkward. No, I'm joking.
Everybody knows that the minute you touch a drumstick, your soul evaporates. Well, drummers are like the gingers of the music world, right? So, no. I mean, like, just the way it's painted in the film, I think he's just like awkward by nature. You know what I mean? Like, it's. But I mean, obviously, there's contributing factors to, like, how you choose to tackle that. Because, like, some people, let's say, are just naturally awkward. But, you know, depending on your environment, you just get used to social interaction the way the way is expected of you. But, like, I feel like him, just with, like, you know, the glimpses we get at his environment and, like, you know, just the general trajectory of his life to that point, it's kind of like there hasn't really been, like, some moment to break out of his shell yet, so to speak, until now, you could say.
Yeah.
Or that, like, this film showcases the catalyst to him, like, become like really striking out for the first time, you could say, which is really what, like, you know, like your late teens, early 20s is. It's like, at least, like, you know, striking while the iron's hot and figuring out, you know, what path you want to chart for yourself. But I just want to say, like, I feel like he's awkward because he hasn't really had anything to be proud of until then, you could say. Because in his mind, you can see, or like just the environment he's in, it's like, to be a person of value, you need to have accomplished something, or you need to be able to flex something, whether it's a skill or a possession or whatever, what have you. Now, in this area, more so, like, you know, skill and talent. So, like, I think, like, it's very much tied, like, your talent is tied to your identity in this movie. Yeah. You know?
Like, without your talent, you're a nobody, basically. Is that what you're saying? Like in this movie,
that's how a lot of the characters conceptualize self-worth.
At least when it comes to Schaefer, that's what the case is.
Yes. Like once he's there, you could see it. You could see it in Fletcher and all the other, like, and all the other aspiring musicians there as well. It's very much like it taps into that stereotype of, like, music being dog eat dog, and, like, you got to climb to the top, blah, 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 and you just got to be ruthless. But that...
Doggy dog.
do. And then Drake? Oh my god. I mean, like, it taps into that stereotype, but it's like you'd be blind to ignore the fact that a lot of the music industry as a whole is like that, even more like classical style. Even if you're looking at orchestras and symphonies or whatever, or like classic dance troupes, anything like that, like, it's a lot of it's a lot of just like conniving and just like clawing your way
Like,
to the
like,
top.
well, because they only want the best ultimately.
Yeah. And not even then, and it's sad when you hear the term the best of the best, there it means that your talent or your skill isn't enough, or your work ethic. Sometimes you gotta go like the extra mile in ways that like, you know, most people would find abhorrent.
Or
But it's a standard in an industry like music.
in the case of Eminem, he went 8 miles.
Yeah, and in the case of Vin Diesel, he went 1/4 mile at a time.
I think there's a distinction between being shy and just introverted. Like there are people who are introverted, others that are extroverted. But I think the clear distinction and like the way they sort of treated the band in this movie, like the way I saw it was very much like an army. So before he joined that army, for example, he was kind of like doing his own thing. Wasn't sure what was working out for him. He was striving for one thing, but it's like he never had that discipline that he needed to once he was part of that band. So like in the very beginning, like you see him always like practicing in his corner, and then that's when we're introduced to Fletcher. And then when he saw his face, he's like, okay, like now that's when he starts getting closer. And at the movie theater when he met Nicole, like she mentioned that, yeah, your eyes are always like stuck to the ground. You're never actually socializing, never actually looking up to people. And slowly, like when he started to talk to her, like it was very awkward. I mean, do you remember how like when he asked her out, how awkward that scene was?
Bro.
When she was like, just turn away. It's like, no, I'm joking. It's like, fucking simp.
No. Don't lie. Everybody's had at least like one moment where you think back and you're like,
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
That,
But it's like,
it was. You know
Yeah.
why it was so
He had no
cringe?
riz.
You know why it's so cringe? Because it's tapping into the dark recesses of your memory that you repressed.
Like the
From-
time when he's like, well, like, would you like to go out with me sometime or ever? Like,
or ever.
Please.
like,
Your Majesty.
No, but
was like,
yeah, but basically my point is because then you compare that first date with the time when he cut it clean with her,
yeah,
and that was like when he first started.
yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there after.
cut it clean, but he
like,
did her
I
dirty.
don't want to talk too
But-
much about that, but
yeah.
just to explain like how his confidence kind of got to that.
Mhm.
Because like as soon as you joined Fletcher's band, like remember the moment it turned 9, or it was like 8:55, everybody walks in testing
Yeah.
their instruments. He walks in right away, and it reminded me so much to what was the movie called? Hacksaw Ridge. Remember the
Okay.
sergeant in the movie? How he like scream at everyone and
What was his
fucking yell.
name? What was the actor's name?
I forgot, but I love that.
Oh,
actor.
Andrew Garfield plays everybody in that movie.
the fucking 7'9" actor there. What's his name?
he's not 7 foot.
Oh, Magic Johnson.
huge.
No,
Magic Johnson was the best part
Vince
of Hacksaw
Vaughn.
Ridge.
Fucking Vince Vaughn.
Vince
I love
Vaughn.
him. I love him. No,
Oh,
but
you mean the guy with like
the
foreskin
guy who plays Vince Vaughn in every movie, except for
Yeah,
Hacksaw Ridge.
literally. No, but it reminded me a lot to that. The way like he would scream at the soldiers. The
Okay, so you're saying it's like he had it,
So it's like Fletcher kind of had that role, and then the band was sort of like his army,
and notice how he
Yeah.
said go to my fucking tempo, like as in march to my beat,
yeah, exactly.
like
No, he's literally like the
Like, you just
sergeant
march
of
to my-
that army.
Yes.
To
So,
add on to what
Yeah.
he's saying, it really, the film, once you finally got like the gist of, oh, now the movie's getting going, I thought it was very much like Full Metal Jacket, but for music. That's really what it felt like, and
Well,
it has elements of like comedy, like Full Metal, but like in a different way. But it's like I just find there's a lot of funny parallels there.
basically, the band treated him like he was part of like a group in an army, and it gave him the discipline and the confidence to, kind of
yeah,
prove because he had to prove that he was worthy, right?
yeah.
So once he got that spot in, he knew what it takes. So like he kind of knew how to impose.
I think honestly the band was very either indifferent or hostile against him.
Oh, 100%.
Like you look at like all the drummers, like the part where he gets where he forgets his sticks at the fucking what was it, the car rental store, and he's like, and he turns to Connolly, read my papers, bitch.
Oh my gosh, I fucking love it. And then he just took it.
He just took it, fucking gingerbread fuckface. and
Gingerbread fuck.
and then what's funny is that we'll get to what I think is funny about like his essentially his ascent into that band. But I think the reason why he's awkward is because it's kind of something that Fletcher kept hitting on when it came to Andrew, which was that his mom left him. I'm serious, bro. I'm serious.
I know, but it's just no, because I'm just no.
I'd all make that.
It's just because I'm remembering how like fucking deadpan J.K. Simmons delivers. Like
your mom left you. That's why mommy left you. But I'm serious.
Like,
it's like because
he
his
throws
mom
it in there all the time.
Because his mom. Here's the thing. Because his mom left him, and then his dad doesn't really understand what it takes for him to be a drummer. Like he just thinks, oh, he's drumming, whatever. But like because of that, he doesn't have like someone in his family to necessarily look up to. So he has to like look up to like idols. And usually people who don't really have people in their family that they can look up to when it comes to like a certain passion. Like if you come from a family of artists and you become an artist, then you have like, I guess like a greater deal of like confidence, because like you can turn to people and be like, okay, what am I doing here? Like, what am I doing wrong?
Because he's very unsure about
where
he's heading.
So he's very unsure because there's nobody around him to tell him whether or not what he's doing is right, until like sort of like Fletcher becomes like a surrogate father figure to him.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the, like, in the absence of a competent like parental figure in the film.
No,
and by competent I mean competent in like
in the field.
Yeah, like or just competent in supporting him through what he's doing, because like a good parent doesn't necessarily need to like share the same passion as their kid or be well versed in it, but you can learn how to be a good supporter.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
His father is a good supporter.
He's a good supporter, like maybe like on an emotional front to a degree, but he doesn't really know like, oh, okay, like I can get you in touch with this person who could help you at your craft, or like this person can help you get like, you know, like your time management down and shit, or anything like that. Like it's not.
Yeah, well, I think.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like he.
What do you mean by that?
Just general emotional support, like, or the general platitudes of, oh, I'm there for you, isn't sufficient for someone in his predicament.
Because he's trying to be the best in the world.
Yeah,
one of the all-time greats, because that's his goal.
His dad does not know how cutthroat and serious it is for him. Like, so Fletcher's like he's the parental figure in the film. For good and ill, he does get Andrew to go further than he ever would without him. There's no question. But, oh my God, this guy is toxic. He sucks.
Andrew's father is just a teacher. For someone to be a teacher, it's like it's not as cutthroat as like if you want to be a musician. Not even close. Because to be a teacher, who's your competition? Maybe two people, and even then, they probably are mediocre teachers themselves, or they probably don't have like a track record to be like good teachers. But when it comes to like drumming, there's a lot, especially at Schaefer, there's a lot of really talented drummers. Even the two drummers he was alternating with, Connolly and whoever else, they were, you know, pretty good drummers in comparison to like just regular people or just regular drummers, right? And I think the reason why he's awkward is because like I think he doesn't feel like he would be good. Like you said, he's not good enough because there's nobody telling him, like there's nobody properly affirming him that like, okay, what you're doing is right, what you're doing is wrong. So he kind of has to fly in blind. And usually those are the people who are the most awkward because they don't know, they don't have someone who they can directly ask a question and get a direct answer. You know, like you can, like a lot of young men, because they don't grow up in like very supportive households or they don't have a father, they often have to go and find a surrogate father in a figure on the internet. And oftentimes what that does is you learn the stuff from those people, but like it's difficult to implement it as well because you can't learn it directly from them, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, you can't learn the ins and outs of social interaction through an impersonal medium, right?
Yeah.
You can't learn personal relationships through impersonal material. So it's like as much knowledge as you can garner from the internet, really, I mean, like you're gonna parse through all the bullshit, and then what you're left with is stuff that you're gonna need to put it into practice eventually anyway, because that's really the only way you're gonna actually know when to apply what different like facets of what you learned to each scenario. You know, so like someone could tell you like, oh, read this book. It has a bunch of good topics of conversation. But even just opening a conversation, relaxed body position, all that kind of shit, or like gauging, you know, who's standoffish, or what are the kinds of people like you shouldn't really approach, like what are some like indicators, this, that. That's all stuff you learn from your parents growing up, right?
Yeah.
Who are going to point it out to you. So when you don't have like a strong parental figure to let you know, like, oh, don't, like, you know, you always heard that stuff even growing up, like, oh, those are bad men, or, oh, you can go ask them for help, or whatever. Just little things like that. You learn to, like, visualize it, or you learn to, like, you know, it changes your approach to many different, like, you know, social interactions.
I wanted to ask you a question just based off of what you said, which was like it's better to learn from, like, in real life experience than, like, try to learn things through books. Is that what you're trying to say?
Not necessarily, but it's like books or things you're going to learn online or from things you watch. It's just, it's going to sharpen your sword, so to speak, but it's not going to forge the sword for you. That's generally something that's like,
you have to be in the game.
You inherit it eventually just from watching your parents or your parental figures interact with the world. They set the model for how you're going to interact with the world. Books, media in general, the internet, those are going to give you sharpening tools. Okay? What you're sharpening depends on whether or not you had good models for social interaction growing up. Like, the sharpening tools you learn through books and shit are going to be helpful if you start off with a strong base. If you just end up like getting those sharpening tools, but you're not starting off with anything substantial or strong, eventually it's going to give you minimal improvement, and eventually it's just going to, like, its effect is going to wade away and not help you out at all.
Okay.
Like, its effectiveness runs out because you actually need something tangible and you need something durable. Like, you need a strong foundation. Otherwise, it's not going to do anything for you.
Because I personally think that, like, it's like, you know how usually when you go to school, things are split into, like, theory and practice?
Yeah.
So books are theory, and while, like,
examinations or
real life experiences are
touching
practice.
beakers.
Right? So let's say when it comes to, like, dating, you read a book on dating, or you watch people talking videos on dating, then that's kind of like you reading the theory of what dating is, and then you go out and you practice it. Like, that's like you talking to chicks or whatever. If you don't have a baseline theory kind of on lock, then you can't really maximize the gains from the practice. So the theory, all it does, just learning theory by itself is not useful because there's no
And
practicality.
it's almost a trap. Sometimes people feel so armed with knowledge that they stop, like, they lose the drive to ever put it into practice.
Yeah, because
they keep duping themselves into thinking like, oh man, I have all this shit on lock, I know everything. So they never feel the need anymore to even go and try.
Yeah.
And then those same people end up complaining about not getting the things they want.
If you don't have any, like you said, if all you have is theory, then you become complacent in just learn the theory. But if all you try to do is practice, it's like you're learning a lot more through practice. But by not adapting the theory that which you have and the knowledge that you have available to you, it's like the progress that you're making is like this. But if someone who has the theory and then begins the process, even if you're like many like if you're much more through like the experience, your progress is going to go like this in comparison, because you can easily recognize your mistakes, you know, because if you don't have the theory and let's say you make a mistake, you're just going to think, okay, that was an off chance, like if that was an off one thing that, oh, it didn't work. But if you keep making that mistake, you have to make that mistake multiple times to think, okay, no, this is I fucked up, this is something that I made a mistake on, and this is something I could improve. But if you don't have that, and you just keep like kind of bashing your head into the wall, yeah, you're gonna learn the lessons much better, because it's not something that it's like written down. It's not something you're learning like through a book, but it's something you're learning through experience. However, at the same time, it's like you're going to waste a lot more time, a lot more energy, and probably a lot more money on things that on mistakes that could be avoided if you just learn the lessons much better. He got like inspiration and stuff from outside forces. You listen to drummers play, so he had the
Right.
theory and he was practicing, but the theory was not as solid because he could have got, like, if he had other musicians in his family, they could have drilled him a lot better.
Yep.
So kind of going off the dating thing, was it the right move for Andrew to break it off with Nicole?
Can I just mention how much I love that scene? And by the way, Anita, if you're watching this, don't worry. No, I'm joking. But it's like it depends on the people, on the person's intentions, right? For him, it was really to become the best drummer in the world, and he knew that any type of distraction kind of had to be put aside. And remember that conversation he had with his parents and, like, I guess it was his family at the dinner table there,
Yeah.
where they were like cheering, like
The
Well,
football.
no,
his brother on or
his
something.
mom left him.
Thank you, Pontus. When they were cheering on the guy, I think it was his brother. He was like
cousin, I think.
the cousin who plays football, like Division 3, and they're like, and he's like, yeah, I'm like part of the best band literally in the whole fucking country, but like they're subbing on the guy catching a football across a field
Yeah.
while playing in Division 3.
One of the best lines
New
in the movie.
Orleans.
One of the best lines in the movie. If you think you're so slick, come play with us. And then his replies, 4 words you will never hear from the NFL.
I love that. I fucking love that. Honestly, like such a fucking no, but like
No,
I
he's-
love that line.
How many people you could tell here, bro? You're not gonna be MLS. Like, just die. Like,
No, but basically, like, he made a point that he doesn't care if he has 0 friends, if he doesn't have any circle. He just wants to make a fucking legacy. And this goes back to the podcast.
this goes back to Commodus.
Exactly. No, but my point
Every
is
podcast now
that's his
is all about
priority.
fucking legacy.
Literally. But
It's almost like
yeah,
that's why we're here. Like,
literally.
no
very
shit.
large a brain.
Well, I think that also kind of just speaks to the human condition, though.
Yeah.
In one form or another, we're always looking to cement our print on the future.
But not everybody. Yeah.
Right. So
to a certain extent,
for
yeah.
a lot of people, you just accomplish that the biological way,
Yeah.
right? You
Reproduce.
You just reproduce.
Yeah.
You have your kids. That's a legacy.
Yeah.
You know, whether you actually had any impact in that kid's life is up to you, but just the fact that they were conceived and made it to birth,
Yeah.
poof,
Yeah.
Birth.
that's a legacy right there.
Yeah. No, but basically, he understood the responsibilities that come with having a girlfriend, and he knew the responsibility that comes with being in a relationship. And I love how he just laid it out. He's like, this is how it's gonna go, and he kind of gave like step by step exactly what they're gonna go through, because he knows that he's gonna prioritize drumming over her, and he's like, he doesn't want to break her heart like later in the game, because obviously like the longer it goes on, the more painful it's gonna be. So he's like, I'm just gonna cut it off clean. Like, this is not gonna work. And she's like, this is why, and that's it. Like,
But the way he went about it, I think
Yeah.
he could have done it better.
He went very like business.
he was very
mode.
cold. He was very cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But like that shows the leap in confidence, right? But
yeah,
it's
but it
also
almost
how.
seems. But it also shows like a leap in the wrong direction.
But that's because of
for
Fletcher.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. So it's like that's the impact that Fletcher had on him, right? And that's how it translated on.
It's almost like his confidence and his emotional intelligence are like evolving in opposite directions, right? Like he went
a
up
good way
to
to put
her
it.
and he very much turned it into like it was less of a breakup and more like he was firing her from being his girlfriend. That's literally what it felt like, and it just
Yeah. No, you're right.
yeah. I mean, like her CV was
Your CV was mad.
Her CV was
doesn't know how to use Excel. Fuck off.
But I think like he broke her off essentially just like to pursue the career.
Yeah.
But like isn't that moment of solace in having that extra person to kind of bond with? Because he has no social life. All he focuses on is drumming. But imagine that like
It's what grounds you.
So this is
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
so he was like up in the clouds for a while.
Yeah.
You know, like he was just focused on this one thing, like nothing else mattered. Like he didn't have to like improve anything else about his life. All he focused on was drumming. He didn't have a job or anything else. All he did was drum.
But this
So-
is sorry, because this is the point I wanted to come back to, in terms of priorities for him, especially because at the dinner table, what he mentioned was he would rather die, without friends, like in a ditch, drunk and fucking,
High,
whatever, like having like a great legacy, being one of the greats, instead of like being with like friends and shit and like just being like a mediocre dude. So like he doesn't care about his circle, his social life. He just wants to fucking make it, and he wants to do what he's passionate
He
about.
wants to be. What was it like? He'd rather have people talk about him around the dinner table than not talk about him.
Exactly. But sorry, because that link was made later in the movie when Fletcher's old student passed away. Did you make that connection?
Yes.
Yeah, the one who didn't they commit suicide?
He killed himself.
Yeah.
From anxiety. So he that's the link, right? So he knows that's the path he's going down, but he would rather die like that, knowing how depressing and sad that is.
But be a great musician.
Be a great musician rather than like.
And also
be with friends and shit.
Yeah. Something else I noticed was that Fletcher said that he died of a car accident, and then what happens later on in the movie?
Got in a car accident.
Got in the car accident. Him being very cold about it, like but he kind of treated her like garbage. At the end, like he treated I know it's a ligma male scene, right? Like sigma male don't need a woman, right? But
I don't think it's that celebratory. Like it's very fun to watch. But I don't think you I don't think you love it because it's like oh, like, this scene took my breath away with the great acting and whatever. I personally, I love it because it's so robotic and fucking hilarious.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Like
in that moment, he's so
robotic and he's not like emotional whatsoever.
In my mind, just in the back of my mind, I was cracking up just because I was like, I can't believe how many people are going to see this and be like, oh, this is so, like, that is so cool. Like, that's exactly what I want to do. Like, I can't wait to drop that bar, And it's like,
because I want to be great.
No, but it's not. Like,
but
for me, what I found funny was just the distinction from the beginning and the end.
Yeah, it's like, who the fuck are you? Like chill.
Out of nowhere, though, he's like, "Can I ask you out? Turn away! Don't fucking come again!" And then fast forward to like when he broke off, he's like, "I don't want to be with you anymore. A B C D, get the fuck out of my life." It's like.
I don't think it was like that. Like he laid it out in a different way, but he kind of made it. He made her feel kind of worthless at the end because.
Yeah, big time.
Because. What he did is just essentially
he really devalued what they had.
Yeah. So he didn't say like, oh, I enjoyed our time together or whatever, which is like the best way to like leave it open, right? For the future, like because that's what happened at the end, right? He tried to reopen that wound at the end. That's
true, yeah.
And then you asked me this like when we watched the movie together the first time. You asked me like, why do you think he called her after like at the end then? And not when he was like down and out. And the reason why is because he couldn't bear to face her, knowing that she's like he failed at his endeavor, that he broke her heart for no reason. You know what I mean? Like he didn't want that. So instead what he did is he waited it out until he got like a gig, and then he's like, hey, would you like to come to my gig? Because like, I don't know, I have to ask my boyfriend.
But also at the same time, like, why would he ask since like he doesn't care about his social life? Right?
Because the thing is, it's
he probably started coming to the realization that it's nice to have someone to share these things with.
Right.
And then he's like, okay, well, if I broke it off with her in the pursuit of this thing, and then when I fell flat on my ass, I realized how much it was nice to have someone like that to fall back on. At least he had that moment of realization, at least, where it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to like grow the balls to even bother asking her out again, at least let me show that us splitting in the first place had something worthwhile to it. Because otherwise you just look like a jackass and like you're just groveling, Like at that point you just look like you're just crawling back because like... Yeah, it's the classic like, oh, X coming back scenario that everybody likes to fill your head with, like the minute you break up with someone.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, oh, they're going to come crawling back. So he obviously didn't want to like just go and use her again just for emotional support. Yeah. So in that sense, like at least he's not a hypocrite.
Yeah.
What I've noticed is that there's generally 3 things you need like to really fill up your life. There's 3 things that you could fill up your life with, and one of them is purpose, a social life, or a recreational substance, right? So if you look at people, certain people go to the extreme. Some people have all 3, but like, and it's rare to have all 3. It's difficult to have all 3, but a lot of people have 2, and usually some people have a purpose and a social life. Some people have a social life and recreational like substances, and some people have purposes and just recreational substances. By recreational substance, I mean like movies, video games, drugs, junk food, whatever. And essentially what you're doing is your life is kind of like a hole and you're just trying to fill it with stuff. So if you try to just fill it with purpose, let's say you fail at that purpose, then what is there left to like fill up all the hole in your life? If you just have your social life and your, let's say like you go to a different town for like a week and you can't talk to your friends because the Wi-Fi is trash or whatever, then what hole do you have in your life that you can fill with? And then there's recreational substances, which is usually what we fill it with. Like if we're bored, we play video games, or if we're bored, we watch a movie, or we smoke weed, or we eat junk food. And it's not necessarily the best thing to fill it with, right? So Andrew was just solely focused on his purpose, while like what was it? Fletcher had both purpose and so a social life generally, because he had many friends. Like he knew a bunch of people. Like he was in a band.
Well, he had connections.
Like he wasn't, but he wasn't like a completely. Well, he's kind of isolated in his personal life.
I feel
Like I wouldn't
and
say
Andrew has those thoughts even at one point. Like the guy's old. Like he says, like, you know, you're old and alone, or like something to that effect. No, am I misremembering this?
I think so. I don't think he said that. No.
No,
not
I didn't say.
out loud, but like he.
No. Because if anything, Neiman, like, I guess in a way, kind of respects him for his passion. You're talking about Neiman, right? Like Neiman.
Miles Teller.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Like you're saying that he said that to Fletcher. No. Yeah. He never
No,
said
not that he said it
or thought it or something. No, if anything, no, because he respects him. He respects his like ambition for music. He would never think that about him.
But I think having that I think having that ambition is probably the best thing he could have had.
For Fletcher.
Both Fletcher and Andrew.
Yeah, of course.
Like because they're both Andrew's very awkward, so him having a social life is not like the most ideal thing for him, because it's like.
Well, no, having a social life regardless is important. Whether awkward or not.
Yeah, but like if he has he'll have. Probably in his eyes, he'll have the social life after he's made it. But to him, like the ideal is for him to get
there and then figure that out.
Get the purpose fulfilled and then figure it out afterwards. But like I think the worst thing you can do is be stuck in a recreational substance mode, where all you do is consume. Like,
well, I mean, it's always. I know you said that there's very few people who kind of like encompass all three, but I actually think that that's almost kind of like the key to like never having your life be empty. Because if you look at, let's say someone's purpose falls through, then they're either gonna be that really annoying and like super clingy person in their social interactions, you know, because their passion fell through, and if all they have is their social life left, then they're just gonna be really fucking annoying. That like as a person they become super fucking annoying. And
what do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I meant like if all you have to your life.
But like, what do you mean? What do you mean is like, in what way would they be annoying?
Well, I mean, like generally those kinds of people, because their only outlet for any sense of accomplishment or forward momentum or just movement at all in their lives, if their purpose falls through, they're gonna fall back entirely on their friends, and then at a point, it's like your friends start, you know, getting married, having kids, or they start building their own careers in like, you know, a profitable direction or anything like that. It's like at a point, you're just gonna be bumming around with other unsuccessful or unfulfilled people. Those are the only ones that are gonna be left, and you're all like the worst people to hang out with because you literally have nothing else going on except hanging out. Like that's your existence. If you only have like, let's say, purpose and your social life, or if you only have your recreational substances and your social life, or if you only have your purpose and your recreational substances, then you're always gonna fall back on the other when one doesn't work out well. When you have the trifecta, then you're never really like over reliant on any facet to like fulfill you.
But I think if you have, let's say, the substance, I think that's like it's a bad thing to like just, like, oh, you're down and out or whatever, let's just smoke weed, because then that's just gonna make you like,
yeah, well, there
lazy.
you go. That's what I mean. It's like, so if you fall back on that or on the other, like if you're someone, let's say your purpose falls through, and then like you can tell your friends, oh, I'm going through a hard time, okay, and then you have like your substances, I don't know, you share a drink or whatever, and it's kind of like a melding of the two. And a lot of the times it's going to be something like, I don't know, let's say you went out and then you met someone who like completely uplifted your spirits, or you met like, the next like, the start of the next romance of your life, or you never know. But because it's a combination of the other two facets there, which led you into a scenario where, your purpose could be renewed, let's say, or like you could find a new social relationship, or you could find a new hobby, a new recreational like hobby to pursue or something. Having all three is important. So generally, unfulfilled people only have one or two of those that they're really focusing on.
But do you think,
like, highly capable people
yeah,
invest in each? You ever notice how a lot of successful people also happen to have like some like quirky ass hobby that they're like that they're really a fan of, and then you're like, oh, I never would have guessed that out of you, because you would have just assumed that they're like a pencil pusher dude in a suit, like born into money, whatever. But a lot of these people, they sharpen their minds through that, and then they keep their interactions fresh by keeping their social life alive.
Right.
All the while, their purpose is what they use to build, like, to build their finances, to like, eventually, like, get a home, build a family, that kind of stuff. Like, do you get what I'm trying to say?
yeah.
So the people who, let's say, like Andrew, where, like, let's say you cut off your social life, so then all you have left is, like, I guess substance every now and again, and then all you have is your purpose. If your purpose falls flat, like, you see, he couldn't call up Nicole. He had to regain something in the one thing he invested in, because he divested in everything else.
Yep.
Interesting. I think, but do you think it would be a smart thing to not invest, but like sacrifice certain aspects of your life to feed into that purpose?
Well, I think part of the problem is just people looking at it as sacrifice. It's like no one's telling you that you have to give up everything you like forever. It's just you have to know when to put it on hold. Like you could love, like, just like most people our age, clearly not everybody. It's Saturday evening and we're here. But a lot of people like to... No, there's nothing wrong with it. No, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, like, there's nothing wrong with either. I'm just saying, like, right now, for instance, there's people our age going out and getting hammered with their friends out at a club or something,
Fuck.
So when... Fuck. So, like, there's an example right there where I'm saying, like, okay, someone wants to, like, let's say, exam season hits. It's perfectly normal for someone to put off the drinking and the friends on pause and solely invest in advancing their purpose, which at that moment is school or whatever. But I mean, like, it's not, if you're going in with the mindset of like, hey, I'm doing this because that's what's important right now, it's perfectly fine, because then eventually, that part of your life is going to calm down, and then you're going to be allowed to pursue the other two again. It's like the idea of like sacrificing makes it seem like mentally people picture burning off a bridge, and it's like, I can never go back to that once I give it up. Yep. And I think that's why a lot of people have trouble like actually putting things on hold, like whether it's to pursue, their professional endeavors or...
Are you saying that they go cold turkey?
Yeah, everybody thinks that they have to do everything cold turkey. It's like you don't really. I mean, like, you have your exam seasons. Okay, it's not like if you don't hang out with if those people are your friends, it's not like if you don't hang out with them for a month, you can't just meet back up the minute your fucking finals are over. Right. A lot of people think it's very like everything's black so final. Yeah. And it's like the minute I give something up, that's it. I have to drop it forever. It's like, no.
Yeah. But that's the same. I think a good comparison for this is like comparing like this is like in terms of like investing your time and your efforts into like, let's say, a goal, and then like cutting things off, right? I think like one thing that people need to get straight is that you can't think 10 years ahead or like 10 steps ahead and look forward to that moment, cut out everything, and really just push to get to that place. You really just have to go baby steps. It's like investment. You're not going to spend all your money on lottery and hope you're going to win it, or like just go all in, give up on everything. You go one step at a time. You invest here and there. Hopefully you make up a bit of money. You learn from your mistakes, and then you step up. In his case, he burnt all his bridges.
Yeah.
And he went all in.
And then he failed.
So then he had nothing to go back to. So that's sort of like the issue that came with his ambition. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say this. This might shock you guys. Business plans are a waste of time.
Business plans. What are you
big
referring
time.
to?
Business plans. So
Planning,
well, like here's the thing. Planning like the next 5 steps is not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Having a general direction where you want to go is not a bad idea at all. But saying, okay, in 10 years, this is what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like or even when it comes to like business.
Because you're going to be so disappointed when it doesn't.
Well, not just that, but the world is so chaotic that there's nothing that's going to like there's nothing that's going to like make it where everything's going to go exactly your way. You can't control fate. Fate controls you. So for example, let me give you an example of this show. There were like at least like maybe 3 or 4 shows that I had planned that never happened because either someone wasn't available or the show just didn't pan out because the topic that I had thought of wasn't
your
necessarily
personal life. Like the things happen, right?
Yeah,
It's
the things that like just stuff happens that just throw your plans out of the way. So if you just think, okay, like if you try to get to that big moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like people look at rich people, like a bunch of broke people look at rich people and think, what was the one thing that happened that got him rich, instead of looking at what was the process that got him rich.
Right.
So
But don't get me wrong,
people,
though. Don't get me wrong. I think it's good to still have like a goal in mind, but don't just have that in the back of your mind. Focus on what's now. But instead of thinking like you're saying that like just aim for that. Just have it in the back of your mind because you still need to aim for something at the end of the day.
I feel like the problem is that people are just ascribing too much stock in like deadlines and timelines for their goals. Like if you want to schedule 5, 10, 15 steps, whatever, like of contributing factors to the big moment that you're conceptualizing, that could still be effective. But like as long as you're not putting a definite date on the goal itself, because I feel like that's what makes like business plans fall through, is like they're not using strategy, they're just spamming a bunch of tactics, if that makes sense.
Or like politicians, right? How many politicians
they're a prime
like
example.
promise?
They're a prime example. A promise is like it's like a political tactic, just to like an in the now, this is a move I can pull, right? Strategy is long-term planning, which like there's no problem with that either. But if you keep ascribing like a timeline to it, then it's gonna blow up in your face because you're gonna get a million curveballs your way on the road there, and then the roadmap you had planned, it's like it's meaningless at that point, because then if you circle back and you actually chart the course you took, it's completely different, but it led to the same spot.
Yeah.
Is Fletcher justified in the way he conducted his class?
No.
So
No.
but I think like for me, no. But at the end of the day, you have to see, like if you look at it from an outside perspective. Hold on a second.
No.
Let me finish. I'm saying no as well. But when you look at it from an outside perspective, from people who don't know Fletcher, he's successful with what he's doing, right? So a lot of people who don't necessarily know him personally, like I'm saying in the context of the film, like the people from the audience, let's say, they think that he's an amazing person because look at these musicians that he's able to like produce, right? But obviously his methods are extreme and chaotic.
I like the picture that's
I wouldn't
how
say
the,
it's
the
chaotic.
judges on the
I wouldn't say
voice-
it's chaotic. It's a very
Just throwing
extreme.
hurling a chair at a kid is not at all chaotic.
That was his bird moment.
I like to think the judges on The Voice, once they make their picks, all Blake Sheldon does is like yeet chairs at his singers until they know.
Panos, what was you gonna say? You don't think it's justified?
No, at all.
What do you mean by that?
He's a piece of shit. He's the worst.
What do you mean by that?
He sucks.
What do you
And
mean by that?
I will fucking tell you.
You
What do you mean by that?
Fucking hell.
Okay, no, he's not justified. He's toxic. He's abusive. Nothing justifies throwing a chair unless the chair asks to be thrown. Okay? The way I see it is the end product is obviously like the result is great. You know? Obviously, like it's rarely a doozy, right? It almost always like he almost always ends up producing something of quality. But like the means, I'm sorry, I'm not someone who thinks like means justify the ends,
yeah.
which is basically what I think this boils down to. It's just I'm trying to think like, what if he bought Andrew like a birthday cake? You know, like if let's say like okay, this guy's like super ambitious and no one's ever treated him with any modicum of like, you know, respect or recognition. If some like fucking like, you know, orchestra Hitler like J.K. Simmons would.
Can I say something though? Because as I don't agree at all with his methods. I think again like he's very extreme. The club that I play for, one of the best coaches that we have, who's like trained every generation of kids at like the age of like 14, I think, to be like basically the best in the province almost every year. He was talking with like someone that I coach with, and he said that if like what's like a trick that you use, like how do you get these kids to like motivate themselves to like really push forward. He's like the sweetest guy, by the way. He says, always tell them that they're bad. Never like compliment their work. Always tell them that they're bad, because, and this is something I wanted to talk about as well. But like not in a way like you're shit like Fletcher does. More like don't act like you're impressed, because
it's one thing to humble your students.
Of course, that's the thing. So you notice in the film, every time like Neiman or Andrew, like he would get a step forward, like he would show like his worth by practicing and showing that okay, he's good. He would get a step forward. He would become like the alternate for Fletcher, and then he became the core for Fletcher
because he lost the fucking. You lost the notebook.
But I love that because that's faith, right? But
yeah, but it's funny because like the mistake led him to be
exactly.
like the core.
No, I absolutely loved that happened, and I love how they made it play out. But the point I'm trying to make is every time he got to that point, again, Fletcher didn't treat her like well at all, but he would have some sort of an ego, and it would be boosted every time. And as soon as it would get boosted, he would right away shut him down. He's like, you're going back to alternate. And he would bring in the fucking ginger. And then like when he would get back, and then when he was telling the other guy, fucking flip my pages, bitch. Then he would put him back at his, you know? So it's like always that back and forth. And that's also the connection I made with the title of the film, which obviously, it's Whiplash is the name of the song that they were practicing and whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's also, because what does Whiplash mean?
It's when you get into a car accident, and
which happened
neck snaps
in
back.
the movie. Yeah, but it snaps back. Why?
And
because
also,
of the momentum, right? So the
and
movie,
also it's just like it's just like a sudden back and forth.
Exactly.
Also, just
so sudden back and forth. So the whole movie, the way that it's this idea of a cycle of his ego bouncing up and down, and
the movie feels like Whiplash.
Exactly.
Yoga
so
fire.
It's all about him going up and then being right away like brought down, jumping back up, back down. It's like I love that connection that was made, you know?
I think based on what he produces, I don't think he's like malicious in his intent. Because what he's saying is he because he has a reputation to uphold, he expects perfection and wants perfection from his students. Yeah. So if by any means any of his students fuck up, then that's him going down with the ship as well. So it's like he's a part of that unit as well, but he's like the leader. And if anyone is like a weak link, that's going to lead not just for those kids to fail, because it's going to make everyone else look bad in the process, but it's going to make him look bad as well. And then therefore he can never be able to find someone who he wants to make to the big time.
Yeah. And
that kind of brings me to my next question, which is Fletcher actually a good person?
So it's funny because I actually want to segue to this. I think he's not pure evil. He's not, but I think he, like, back to what Paulo said, like basically, like the means doesn't justify the ends. He, in my eyes, is so like evil because especially at the start when he brought him in, the guy, like, he empathized with Neiman. He literally went into his space. He's like, tell me a bit about your family, about your parents. Not because he's interested at all. He doesn't fucking give a shit about him. solely so he can destroy him when he gets the fucking chance. Who the fuck does that, bro? That is messed up. Like, so that goes back to like him caring about like whether or not these guys make it or not. He only cares if they make it so that his name looks good, right? So that's sort of like the thing that I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for example, there was
I think he's chaotic neutral. If we're looking at like that like diagram there, right, where you have like true neutral.
What do you mean by that?
It's the one where you have like it's 3 rows and 3 columns. So you have good, neutral, and evil.
Okay.
And then you have lawful, neutral, and chaotic.
Okay.
And
so
then true neutral is in the middle. So like you can have lawful neutral and chaotic neutral. You could have lawful good, or like neutral good, or like chaotic I don't think neutral is the middle thing, but whatever. I think he's just neutral as far as his like his intent. Okay. It's not evil to want to look after your own ass. He's not actively because he's not actively seeking to harm anyone that's not like, you know, like coming to his vicinity and is tied directly to what he has on the line. Otherwise, he's not gonna go out of his way.
He's ready to praise you when you deserve to be praised.
Sure, but his past student like died because of him.
Yeah, well, he didn't want it enough.
Wow.
Gonna cry?
Fucking hell.
Well, okay, look.
Well, here's the thing.
To what point are you gonna put?
Even the point. Wait, sorry. Even the point where he's like, Neiman gets into a fucking car accident, and he's bloodied up, and even when he goes and he starts playing, he drops the fucking thing, and he's like,
he's still angry.
No, he's like, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. Get out of here. Like he kicks him out, and he was so, and like
he like handicap shames him.
Yeah.
Basically,
because his hand was literally like probably broken at that point.
Yeah.
I think if you look at some of the interactions he has like with other people, like he doesn't seem like a bad person per se. Like for example,
but that's just a face though.
Like, I think he's just BPD, bro.
What does that mean?
Borderline personality disorder. Like he just has a double personality, bro.
It's not a question of double personality.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example, okay? The yin yang, right? Was that what you mean?
No, you have 3 faces. Like
you have 2 wolves inside of you.
You have 2 wolves inside of you. No, but the one where you have like 3 faces, like the first one.
Oh like, yeah, monkey C.
No, Paula, shut the fuck up. No, but the one where it's like the way that you treat yourself around like the public, the way you treat yourself around like closer circle,
the
and
ego, the super ego, and the id.
No, he has like. Yeah, you're saying that how to treat yourself around the public.
Yeah, how you treat yourself around the public. You have like that's one face. How you treat yourself around like
oh, you
close,
mean
like a close circle. So in this case, it's his band, and then the person that you are by yourself. So you have these 3 faces.
Oh, you mean like you have like the shadow self, like you have you mean the masks that you put on?
The mask. Yeah, sorry. There you go.
That's like Carl Jung. No.
The shade.
I'm not
the shadow.
I'm not sure to be honest. No, but you get what I mean. Yeah. What I mean though, like it's not a personality disorder. You're not gonna go up to a kid and fucking start shouting at him.
No, but like I think he just has like a split personality.
No, I don't think so.
Have you seen how we behave around each other versus?
Let me give you an example, okay? So remember the scene right before they play the first time?
Yeah, the daughter, and
he's like, "Hey, give me 5."
Okay, but then he's not gonna fucking slap her across the face and ask her if she's dashing.
Yeah, but he's not gonna go up to that guy. He's not gonna be like, "Yo, fuck you."
Rushing, sorry.
He's not gonna be like, "Yo, fuck you" to that guy, right? He's not just a dick.
Of course.
So he goes and he gets a high five from the girl, and then he walks into the room and he goes, "Listen up, cocksuckers."
Well, yeah, that's fine.
But like his
that's
whole
not BPD. Maybe he's just ADD.
No, not even, bro. You conserve your energy for the time that's appropriate.
Have you ever seen Aren when he's like part of a play? That's literally Aren.
Bro, the play
like
was
on stage, then backstage, and then off stage.
The play was last week, bro. Dead Poet Society.
Wait, Aren, you survived?
Oh,
I thought they all died.
I don't think he's like a bad person, but I don't think he's a good person either. I think he's like you said, like he's neutral. He just has like a he just has a way of conducting himself where he just wants to see the absolute best and he can't accept anything less than that. One of the quotes he says in the movie is like, no two words in the English language are worse than good job.
Yep.
So the whole point of it is like he doesn't want people who are like, oh, just good enough.
Yeah. He doesn't want people to think that that's enough.
When you're asking this question, when you're presenting the question, is X a good person? What are you defining as a good person in this context?
Like, are they a good person to you?
Or
Because
like he would be to the
good,
characters he
yeah,
interacts
because obviously
with?
good depends on not just you personally, but like your situation, like your environment and your culture.
I think he's the epitome of. I think Fletcher's the epitome of when you constantly get told that some people literally only look out for themselves, you know, or like how you hear that most people will just look out for themselves and want to be left alone. Like, people always frame that as a negative, but if we're being honest, most people are like that, and it's perfectly fine because they're not going out of their way to necessarily screw people over. It might happen,
But Fletcher did though.
no, but he didn't like leave his bubble to go specifically fuck with someone and ruin their lives.
He did.
Who?
Fletcher.
Fletcher.
To Andrew, bro.
At the end, yeah, but
No,
that's
but
because
Andrew is part of his professional life.
No, no.
yeah, but he's saying at the end
At
when
the end,
when he's like
when he invited him to-
when he invited him to drum for the JVC, and then they played a different song than he was supposed to. Then like he was told.
Like he fucked him over upon his completely.
Yeah, but that's justified because he got him basically fired from his job.
But he went out. But like
That was him. That was more him, like in his mind, taking revenge. Though I'm saying, like, he's not gonna go find some random person's day to ruin. Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Is like he's only gonna ever be malicious or evil to someone if it interferes with his own goals. Like, he's not gonna go out of his way to step over. Like, some people will revel in other people's misery. You know. Like, some people really get off on the fact that there's someone else suffering worse off than me right now. Some people literally get their peace of mind that way. There's a lot of people like that. But there's a lot of people who also, it's just like, don't fuck with me, I don't fuck with you, and that's it. Right?
Yep.
More than like, or less than like, let's say, just good-hearted people who tend to be like more helpful or like just more open to like whoever they meet. Right? Like, you know, always willing to lend a helping hand. Some people are like that too. There's other people, it's like they're not going to go out of their way to fuck anyone over, and they're not going to go out of their way to help anyone. They just want to do their shit, get their bag, and fuck off and be left alone. Yeah. And I think Fletcher's the perfect embodiment of that. He's not drowning in friends. He's not completely isolated. Okay? We see him be a complete hard ass, but it's almost always only when it's related to the orchestra, and or like his conducting. It's never gonna be like whatever, he bumps into someone's shoulder on the street and he's the type to start a fight, you know, like he's not an aggressive person in that sense. Yep. Like picking fights.
He's just
like
a musician
that.
who's just jacked as fuck.
He's just a musician who's power tripping in his thing because he's been getting a consistent bag for a while with this method, so he's just applying it because that's all he knows. It's literally all he knows.
Facts!
And you see the pitfalls of it being all he knows in the other facets of his life to a degree. So, but it also has its benefits, clearly. Yeah. Produces a lot of talent.
Mr. Producer.
You know, the compositions end up gorgeous. You know, even if you're just looking at it in an artistic sense. Then you have those people who are like, you know, those beauty is pain jerk-offs. And like, you know, they're like... crap, you know. I'm neutral on the guy. I think he's...
Here's an opinionated question. Do you think Fletcher liked Andrew at the end?
Yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah. He had big affection for because Andrew also has like main character syndrome. You know, like sometimes there's just some shit that happens where it's like maybe the film has led you to believe it would be like it would pay off differently, but it's main character, so like, you know, like that whole scene where he keeps going with his hands fucking bleeding.
Okay.
Like, I really doubt there's drummers out there who will tell you that like, like I'm wiping blood off 24/7.
Maybe not 24/7, but like I think it's really just to emphasize how much
That's why drummer.
effort and time he has to.
Yeah,
throw
a lot of
into-
drummers now just wear gloves because they're bitches.
Yeah, because a bitch.
They don't like having the sores on their hands. But I
Yeah,
think
but that's the thing is like after a while the sores. Like I'm saying, there's overly dramatized stuff where it's like, oh, well, let's give him like a main character moment, and I think some of those things were like,
But-
what gave Fletcher like some affection towards him.
I think
Yeah.
it was more metaphorical, if anything, though, Panos. I think the whole point of that was to kind of show his progression as a character.
I bleed.
No. But because like I note this down actually. At the start, like his bleeding was very minimal. He only needed like one band-aid, and then it came up to 2, and he had to put more and more. And then the scene where he had to like put his whole hand in like
Into
a
ice.
jar of ice, and you saw like the whole thing turning red, like horizontally though. Like I found that shot so cool, and I think it kind of reflects how his rage builds up more and more the more he's going through this, and like how like this cycle that he's going through, the whiplash that we're coming back to, it's like kind of oscillating faster and like heavier.
yeah, like he keeps
every time.
He
So it's
keeps
like
the
he
first
has
time
higher highs and lower lows.
he hits like the first time you see him is he's playing drums, and then Fletcher sees him. Fletcher's not impressed. It's down.
Yeah.
And then the second time he hears him play up, because he becomes like alternate in the band.
Yeah.
And then like he goes to the thing and he's like, "Oh, you're here for a reason, right?" It's like, "Oh, he's still like up." And then Fletcher takes a fat dump on his face,
Yeah.
and then
Crashes.
all the way crashes down.
That imagery, the hand in the ice. You could also even just like equate it to the base, like a very basic symbolism of, maybe like Andrew's purity in a sense getting stained
Yeah.
over time.
I think it was like the thing he did was also not only revenge, but also to really test Andrew.
No.
100%. You know why? Because Andrew got embarrassed, but like he still needed a drummer at the end, right? He's not gonna play jazz without a drummer.
Dude, that was a lie.
No, but I'm saying like,
Wait, Andrew needed a drummer?
no.
Fletcher.
Fletcher needed a
Yeah.
drummer, so like he brought Andrew in for revenge, but I think he just sees the potential in Andrew, but he just wants to see if he 100%.
I don't believe that.
There's a scene beforehand. He says like, "I only brought in Connolly because it would just drive you forward." He says that.
Okay, sure, but that was when he used to like him.
No, that was after he
No,
got
even
fired.
at the end.
That's
you still-
after he got fired. It's like
Okay. Oh,
he's
sorry,
like
you're right.
he's like, well, why do you want me? Why not Connolly?
But
He's
this
like
is-
Connolly was only there just to push you forward.
But this is the same trick as he used last time. He got into his space and he empathized with him. That's
Yeah.
exactly the same thing.
Yeah, but that doesn't
the
mean
only
that it's
reason
not.
why he did that.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that
was
it's not
to-
true.
No, that's the thing. That's where we draw the difference.
No,
is
but
that
I think,
believe that's
I
fake.
think it's both. I think he
To a certain
knows.
extent.
I think his word choice is deliberate, so that like he's like trying to be manipulative and rope him back in that way,
Yeah.
right? As like a tactic just to get him just
like to
get
use
him,
it in the future.
to use him there.
Yeah.
But I also think that he's only even going out of his way to do it with him because he actually thinks that this guy has potential. So I
Yeah.
think it's a mix of both. He's testing his mettle while also like shit disturbing and like
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he's doing both.
But-
and also one of my favorite scenes, like he refuses to give up. He goes back and he starts like playing Caravan,
Right.
which is a mainly drum based song. And then he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "I'll cue you." And then like he does the same thing, and then like he starts playing it really well, and then like you can see the hate, right?
No,
Like,
but before that, he muttered like "fuck you," no?
yeah, he's like, "Fuck you," and then afterwards he's like, "I'm gonna gouge your fucking eyes out," and then he hits the cymbal and like,
Oh, and
cymbal
then he's
almost
like
hit-
smacked. I love that.
then but Fletcher over time just gains the respect because he just sees how fucking hard he's ripping, and he has no notes in front of him.
Yeah.
All he has is Whiplash.
Right.
All he has is Whiplash. So he's like, so he's just going off of memory, just being able to, his like photographic memory is insane. And then one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when he hits the cymbal and then like the cymbal's like out of place, and then Fletcher comes and adjusts it for him.
Yeah.
Like that was a scene where it's like Fletcher
That's true.
just saw in the moment, forgot about his revenge,
Yep.
because we don't know what happens after the story. He forgot about his revenge and just wanted to witness
Like the art.
the art
Yeah.
of who he was. So
So, yeah.
his so what that tells me is
I
that
definitely
his
think he does value like he doesn't just see it as like a way to get money. Like I think he definitely does value the artistry.
because if
of
it was a way
music,
to get
of
money,
course,
he wouldn't care about mediocrity. He just
Yeah.
pump it out.
Yeah,
but like he doesn't do that. He just
Yeah.
he's focused entirely on making sure that
Well, no,
that
some
drumming
people
is
would
as good as
would
possible.
probably stop giving a fuck about music, but like still care about their reputation and would do what he does.
yeah,
No,
but
I'm sure.
Okay,
But-
just to add to that, because like I understand your perspective, and I agree with 90% of it. It's just that for me, the way I saw it is that he did this solely for revenge, and it kind of, and then when he noticed that okay, like this guy's like actually standing up for himself and he's doing like a kick-ass fucking solo, that's when he's like, okay, shit, maybe this is like the origin story that I've been teaching my fucking students all along, you know. Maybe this is our next, whatever the guy's name was who committed the suicide there. Like, maybe
well,
this is
not the guy who had the symbol thrown at his head. His nickname became Bird.
Bird. Yeah, like maybe he's the next Bird, you know. Like maybe this is how he becomes that, you know. So that's when it kind of clicked, and he transitioned from revenge to, okay, let me like support this up and comer.
Yeah, and I think what was it, Neiman? Even when Neiman like kind of got suckered in, I think he still like greatly respects Fletcher
He's still begging
as an
for
artist.
his approval at the end. You can see
For
it.
sure.
Yeah, because like for him, like I said before, Fletcher is like
A father
a
figure.
surrogate father figure to him. How would you balance purpose and the other parts of the rest of your life? Like if you had a purpose like Neiman,
Mhm.
how would you balance the purpose of drumming
Yep.
with everything else? Would you do what he did, which was to essentially like try to cut out as much unnecessary bullshit from his life?
Hmm.
Or would you try to just fit in the drumming in and still continue to do other stuff that you enjoy doing?
Well, if you don't mind,
Or if you have another
Yeah.
alternative.
Because again, I think this also comes down to intention. Because for me, my intention isn't to be necessarily the best in the world at something. Like, I don't care about that. I think of, like, for me, what's important is that I have an impact on the world in one way or another. And the thing that I love the most. But I don't care to, like, necessarily make a name for myself. I just want to be helpful. For me, my first priority is health. For him, it was his second priority. I mean, you saw, like, and especially I think Fletcher also had influence on that, because even when he got into a fucking car crash and almost died, for him, on his mind, the only thing that mattered was I have to be on that fucking stage, I have to perform, I have to
Yeah,
be the
like he
best.
literally get out. It was like a few blocks away, and
It's
he
like he's right
starts
there and
running.
just fucking ran. Like it's messed up. Like how he's setting the priorities in his head.
I like
you
how
know?
he cleaned himself first.
Yeah.
I like
'cause, like he
that
has
even-
he has
that
he has to
even
be presentable, right?
That he even bothered to clean himself.
Yeah, he has to be presentable. But yeah, so for me, definitely it's health first before anything. I will never sacrifice my sanity. I will never over stress or be in a state of like constant anxiety for something that I do. And that said, my second priority would obviously to pursue like my ambitions, my goals, and the things that I love the most. And for me, it's important to also keep a balanced life generally, because even though you're doing the thing that you love the most constantly, I think it's still important to give some time for your social life, your other involvements, volunteering, because having all these things in your life kind of just like it balances things out in your life, you know. And it's like it gives you different things to work on, because it's like going to school, and if you just focus on one thing, you're not going to be able to like cover like all these different like subjects, these matters that might be helpful for you in your lifetime as well. Like for example, me, in case you guys didn't know, me and Chris were scout leaders. So we basically like raise, sorry, I don't know if you want me to share
don't
that.
care.
You don't care? So like I think for me it's like pretty important. It helped me definitely develop on my confidence to like basically push forward like messages, and like we help kids, we help develop like the next generation of like kids to become like citizens and like of a community, you know. It's like to basically show them like the importance of like having a role and being a role model and having a leadership role, you know. So it's like, for example, like there's that. I have heavy involvement in soccer, which for me is also very important. It's another passion of mine, and I've also learned like a lot of life lessons from there too, you know. So it's like it's important for me personally to have a lot of involvements, because there's a lot of things that you can take from it and apply to what you pursue.
Yeah, you can diversify that way. And also, I the way I would do it is I would just conceptualize it or visualize it in your head as like a pie chart, and you can just slide around the borders, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So like, say,
What do you mean by that?
say your big three is you have your social life, your recreation, and then your purpose. Okay? So how much time you allot to each doesn't have to be even, evidently.
Yeah.
You could, like, let's say, have the pie chart almost completely swallowed by your purpose for a given period of time, and then you just bring it back down, and then you bring back time for your social life and your like recreational habits. So I mean, there's no one way to tackle it, and you can't just live your entire life dedicated to one, because otherwise it's just going to implode, because you're never going to get anywhere, one, without having the connections that you build through your social relationships, and then two, you're going to have a fucking mental breakdown if you don't have anything that's like uniquely for you and your enjoyment. Everybody needs at least one. It's like, if it's a hobby, or if it's, you know, like I don't know, let's say tinkering with something, creating stuff, or if you want to read, or if you want to write, or if you want to produce, or like, you know, or you want to stay active, or you want to engage in like in physical activity, like just for aesthetics, you know, getting your body to look better, things like that you can claim, and you're like, I'm only doing this for me. Yeah. It's not like for my survival, like it's not for making money. It's not like, you know, to support my family. It's not to be helping out my friends. This is 100% something purely for my happiness. If you don't have something like that to fall back on every now and again, then you're going to have a fucking mental breakdown.
As a content creator, you don't really, like, it's something you have to kind of devote yourself to. You can't, if you want to be successful, you have to put in the time. And just like with anything else, I try to make time for social life, but it's like, it's either I enjoy the social life now and I sacrifice, in a sense, the drive, or the progress through that drive that I have the time to do now, or I can enjoy my social life later when I've already made it and I've already become successful. And I think that's kind of the mentality that Neiman has. It's like, that's something I'll enjoy later. Like, I'll focus right now on becoming the most successful I can possibly be, and then later, if once I become successful, once I become like a world-class drummer, then I can go fuck my groupies, then I can go get into a band or something. But obviously you need to have the connections, right?
Let's say in your case,
if I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who needs a drummer, then I can get into that band and become big and famous and shit, right?
Or even with something more grassroots like what you're doing here, just starting up. If you hadn't invested some amount of time in maintaining your relationships with whoever you're bringing onto the podcast, you know, then you couldn't really get this thing off the ground, just for lack of actually having people to film who are willing to speak with, right?
Yeah.
But you put in that work over the years to maintain friendships, and therefore, you know, you have friends who aren't opposed to hopping on and trying.
It's kind of like cashing a check, in a way.
Yeah, you cash the homie check.
Yeah, so it's like something. It's like
there's no check. The homies have an unlimited credit line.
No, but I think, like, other than bonding and creating memories together, I think it's also important to have like a good, and like, I guess. You can
look, ideally we're all going to be able to help each other in our professions.
Like you make connections.
Yeah, like if I need someone to, you know, draw me a house.
Panos, obviously.
Panos.
Or if I need someone to give me their Photoshop license. Chris. The most annoying shit though is, like, I kept hearing this. It's like, if like my chosen career path, if it pans out, like all this, like, if I get into some shady shit, you can help me out. It's like, no, you don't have license to like fucking kill your wife and take the inheritance money because she's loaded. Okay,
and then plead for insanity.
You can't just get off of that, like, bro. Not everybody's Saul Goodman. Like, you're not gonna
Saul Goodman.
I mean, you could if you're
or some people think that, you can like, if your homie's a lawyer or something, they can like hand wave away every ticket you get. It's like, no, stop going 120 in a 30 zone, Alex.
Baby girl.
By the way, this isn't an Alex in particular. We don't like to name drop. This is just to
Oh,
all
yeah,
Alexes.
no.
This is just to all Alexes out
Yeah,
there.
it's
Don't
just-
go
if
with
it was
120.
if it was a girl, her name would be Nicole. So anyway,
from the movie. The girl.
She doesn't drive.
You had
Otherwise,
to
she
kill
would
her.
have gotten Whiplash.
and on that note,
Really?
thank you guys for watching. Next week it's going to be a Christmas special. Should be really fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell for all notifications because the subscribe button doesn't do what it used to. And remember, Whiplash.